Hey, what's up everybody? In today's video, I'd like to go over fighters that have UFC NFT cards and the events that they're going to be participating in this month in October. October is a busy month. We have 5 events, 4 different UFC fight nights, and then a UFC pay-per-view at the end of the month. And so I want to go through all these events and just highlight who has cards and, kind of how I think it might affect the value so that you can possibly speculate, maybe buy a couple extra cards in anticipation of their value going up, or it might be a good time to dump 1 or 2 of them if you think the risk is too high. Anyways, I think this is a lot of fun. I would love to keep doing this every single month. It adds a little bit of fun utility for us collectors as we kind of speculate on the market and who's coming up with a fight, who might win the belt, whose value might go up, and I'm enjoying doing this, so I pick up a couple extras, to kind of play along to in hopes that they go up in value, and my hope is that many more of you guys join in doing this also. Alright guys, so let's get into the first event right now. Okay, so the first one is actually later today. I'm posting this video on Saturday morning, Saturday, October the 2nd, and it's going to be a UFC fight night. So we have Thiago Santos, and he's going to be facing up against Johnny Walker. Now, Johnny Walker does not have a card, but Thiago Santos does. And so if you want to speculate on him, well, I mean, it's later today. So I guess you either have to have his card or you have to play the buy it now game, because we don't even have time to have an auction go through. So anyways, this is a light heavyweight bout, and remember, this is the main event, so all the focus is on this matchup here. So Thiago Santos is a number 5 ranked light heavyweight, and Johnny Walker is number 10. And so Thiago Santos is coming off of a 3-fight losing streak. And he actually hasn't won in 2.5 years because he only fights about once a year lately. And so it's been a while since he's had his hand raised, and he desperately needs a win. And so since it's been a long time since he won, with this being a main event fight, a win for him would definitely do well. Now this is not going to be a big change. I don't think this is going to be some major spark, it's going to happen unless they have like a kind of a fight of the year type of thing. I don't think the winner of this match is going to be, in contention for the belt yet. I just think this is a good one where it's putting, some guys who, haven't had many matches and putting them in the spotlight. I think the real risk is if Santos loses this match, and we see he's minus 155, so he is actually favored to win, but only slightly. But if he loses, this is going to be 4 losses in a row, and that would be really, really devastating. So it would be very bad if he loses, and it would be good if he wins. And especially for somebody who's had, you could say it for anybody, but when you've had 3 losses in a row and you haven't won in 2.5 years, you really need a win even more than normal. So Santos's cards don't go for very much on the Panini market, but having this main event, if he does really well, gets a great win, puts him back in the spotlight, maybe we'll see a slight uptick, but I don't expect much movement. The only other match is the co-main event where we actually have a fighter who has a card, and that is Kevin Holland. Now this one I actually expect possibly to have even more movement. So Kevin Holland, if you don't know, he put together an incredible string of wins in 2020. I think off the top of my head, he fought 5 times and won 5 times. And he's kind of a guy who's very intriguing. They give him the nickname Big Mouth because he's always talking to and mocking his opponents during the match. And, it was a lot of fun to watch. And so he gained a lot of fans along with that, 5-win streak in 2020. He won several 2020 Breakout of the Year Fighter awards for 2020. And so Kevin Holland's card in Panini is a rookie card, and he has a lot of upside to him. But the thing is that in 2021 he came off to a rough start. He had 2 matches and he lost both of those matches, and it kind of exposed a hole in his game to where it kind of showed his inability to get off the ground and not really have good wrestling skills. And so I guess the story will be, has he improved in this area, and can he kind of turn that around? Because the last 2 matches kind of put, they took some of that hype up, not some, it took a lot of that hype that he had going for him. And, you know, it was kind of weird. Like, I mean, if you watch that last match, he's still talking trash and kind of being funny, and, you know, he's like, during the in-between matches, he's like talking to Habib and making jokes with him while he's losing. And, you know, it was all fun in games while he's winning, but when you're talking like that and not really paying attention and you're still losing, it just, I don't know, man. Maybe if you watch it like me, I just had such a bad taste in my mouth. So the point is that his value is low right now, but it can easily turn back. You know, if he works on the wrestling and kind of starts going on a winning streak again, I think there's a lot of upside to Kevin Holland, especially because he's a rookie in the set, and you know that rookie cards have extra value. And so, you know, I definitely think that it is worth speculating on Kevin Holland. He didn't make my top 5 rookies to collect because he was on that 2-fight winning streak, and like I said, a lot of the momentum had died down, but he's the type of guy who can get it back, and I see him have the potential to be a fan favorite if he can string together some wins again. So having a couple extra Kevin Holland cards is not a bad idea, and who knows, maybe today is going to be the you know, the turning back to the winning and kind of getting some of that momentum again. So you know, he is a minus 165 favorite to win, so hopefully he does get the win and we see an uptick in his cards. On October 9th, we have another UFC fight night, and it's Dern versus Rodriguez, and actually there's no fighters that are on this card who have UFC NFT cards. And so, you know, you can still watch it, but it's not going to have any effect on your card collection. So on October 16th, we have Holm versus Dumont, Vienna. Now, Holm does have a UFC NFT card, but Vienna does not, and there's no other cards, no other fighters on the card that do have cards. So Holly is the number 2 ranked bantamweight women's fighter, and Norma Dumont is an unranked fighter who fights in bantamweight and featherweight. But this is a featherweight match. Holly is also, I think it's the number 8 women's pound-for-pound fighter as well. And so Norma doesn't have a UFC card. She is an unranked fighter. Personally, I don't see there being a lot of movement on here, once again, unless you have some spectacular, you know, record-breaking fight. Norma is an unranked fighter. The stakes aren't very high, and so I don't think that this is going to cause a lot of movement in Holly's cards. Then on October 23rd, we have another UFC fight night, Paulo Costa versus Marvin Vittori. Now this one, both headliners do have UFC cards, and both fighters desperately need a win. And so this is a middleweight bout. Paulo Costa is ranked number 2, Marvin Vittori is ranked number 5. Now, if you don't know, both of these fighters have something in common, and that is their last match was for the belt against Israel Adesanya. Israel Adesanya dominated both fighters, and you know what? I don't know what to say other than to say that when you fight Israel Adesanya, there's something just about him that he kind of just takes all the hype that you had going into it, because both Paulo Costa and Vittori had some hype and some momentum going into this fight, but upon losing to Israel Adesanya, he just stripped it all away, and now both fighters are really down. And so I feel like both of these guys really need a win to kind of get that momentum back again. So this is going to be very good for one fighter and very bad for another. Particularly, this could be very, very bad for Paulo Costa, because I feel like his sentiment is a little bit more negative than Vittori's. Paulo Costa, first, I mean, Israel Adesanya humiliated him even more than normal. Also, you know, he said that he was drunk or hungover during his fight. So there is kind of that negativity, and he's also been in the press just kind of fighting about fighter pay and, you know, turning down fights because he's not getting paid enough. And so it's just kind of weird, you know, after such a big loss where you say you're hungover, to kind of be, you know, in the press talking about how you're not getting paid enough. And it's just not a good look. You know, that's something that maybe you talk about when you're on winning streaks and when things are going good, when you have some capital to argue your case from. but when you're down like this, it just kind of makes things look even worse. So anyways, my point is that Paulo Costa really needs a win here, and if he loses pretty badly, like if he doesn't have a good performance, it will really hurt his value, and I would expect his cards to become even more undesirable. They're already pretty low. Now Vittori actually has more of an I think he has the more potential to have an increase in his cards, and so Paulo Costa, he has to have a really good performance to, I think, get a bump. But Vittori, once again, he has that same benefit that Kevin Holland has, in that his card is a rookie card. There's going to be fewer people who want to just speculate on, you know, random fighters. The fighter who has a rookie card, I think there's more people who don't mind picking it up, because people already like picking up rookie cards. And so I think there's more value potentially in Vittori's cards than in Paulo Costa's cards. And once again, with a win, you know, Vittori would just jump up in the rankings, and there's not as much negativity surrounding him. And so I think it would be good for him. You know, ideally, if you want to think about both of these fighters, what they really need is just a great performance. You know, you don't want a quick knockout. You want them to go through, you know, a 5-round war where they both just kind of show so much heart and just kind of give us a great performance. You know, just like, you know, the last pay-per-view with Vulcan and Ortega, it's like there were no losers in that match. They both just put on a show, and you left having respect for both of them. Sure, you'd have more respect for Volkov because he got the win and put on more damage, but you had respect for both of them. And that's kind of the outcome you'd really want here, because both of these guys really need a good performance. They both need the win, and so I guess the best to hope for is that they both have a great performance. But if you want to speculate, I think there's more upside in Vittori's cards because of the rookie card, and there's less negativity around him. And then finally, on October the 30th, we have UFC 267. This is going to be on Fight Island in Abu Dhabi. And there are lots of fighters here who have UFC cards. So let's go ahead and we'll go down to the bottom of the main card. And so the first one with cards is Hazmat Shamaya. Now, you probably know Hazmat Shamaya because he has one of the most desirable rookie cards of the set. He was obviously, you know, the tie-dye challenge card reward, and, you know, just a very desirable fighter. It's hard to bring up Shamaya's value because Shamaya's value is already super high. Like, he's already one of the most desirable rookie cards that you can get. The thing about Shamaya is that there was only one question mark. The dude was absolutely just, you know, winning fights very quickly, very dominantly, but then he got COVID, and, you know, although a lot of UFC fighters who had got COVID recovered very quickly, he's one of the rare ones who had lingering effects for quite some time. I think it affected his lungs and breathing, and so it took some time to recover, and I guess the really question is, now he hasn't had a fight in almost a year. Actually, it's just over a year. And the question is like, is there any ring rust? Is there any, you know, does he have the same gas tank? Will there be any issues? You would expect, you know, he's been medically cleared. There probably is no more issues, which is good and what you hope for, but it would be great to just kind of see it. So will we see the old Shamaya? That's really just the question. And so I think what this is this is a match that kind of puts him back out there. This is a match where it's just dealing with the one question mark that we have. If that is, has there been any effect from COVID and for being out for so long? And so if he goes out and he has a great performance, I think that, you know what, it's just going to continue where we left off. And there was just a tremendous amount of hype for Shamaya before he had to take that year off. And so, yeah, I think it'll be a great match. But like I said, I don't think it's necessarily going to skyrocket his cards because they're already super high. I mean, it's already one of the most desirable rookie cards you can get. And so, but I think what it will do is a great match here will give you confidence that, yeah, you know what, Shamaya is going to be climbing up the ranks. He's going to get the belt one day. It's a good long-term bet. That's the kind of feeling I think you're going to get with a good win. And then over time, he's just going to gain more and more fans as he climbs the rankings. Next up, we got Alexander Volkov, and he's going to be facing against Marcin Tybura. Tybura is ranked number 9 in the heavyweight division, and Volkov is ranked number 5. Now, Volkov is the only one of the two that has a UFC card, so he's the only one that you can kind of bet on with your cards, and he's coming off of a loss against Cyril Gane. Now, Cyril Gane's undefeated. Losing to him is, to be expected, in all honesty. But here, a win against Tybura would be really good, especially since Tybura has a 5-fight winning streak that he's going into this match with. So I don't think that, if Volkov wins, he's not going to be going and fighting for the belt right away. He's still a couple wins away from doing that. And so I don't expect much movement here, but it's good, for him to possibly come in and avenge that loss against Cyril Gane, have a good, good fight and kind of, just steer the ship and start getting some of that momentum back as he makes another run towards the belt. So you kind of hope for a good match for him, especially if you're a holder of his cards, but don't expect a lot of movement. Next up, we got Magnumet and Golia versus Vulcan Ozdimir. Now, this is a light heavyweight match. Vulcan is ranked number 8 and Magnumet is ranked number 7. Now, this is going to be what I think a very dominant match for Ankalaev. Ankalaev is on a 6-win win streak. He is, he only had one kind of fluke loss. Other than that, he's undefeated. Vulcan is coming off of a loss to Yuri Prokaska, which was just over a year ago. So he hasn't been fighting in a while. He's coming off a loss, and Ankalaev is just completely dominant. So Vulcan, of course, I don't know the actual, I don't think the betting odds are there for this match yet, or at least I don't know them. I don't expect Vulcan to win, and I do expect more hype around Ankalaev. Ankalaev is once again a rookie card, and therefore, once again, like I've been saying all along, more upside in these rookie cards. I think this is going to be good for him. He's going to, if he gets this win, it's more airtime as he fights on the main card of a pay-per-view. He's going to be climbing up the rankings even further, and I just think this is going to be really helpful for him. I think that Ankalaev has the ability right here to gain a lot of new fans as he is, front and center. Everybody's going to be watching this match. It's just before the 2 main events, which are both belt fights, and I think that if he has a great performance here, I just think it will be very good for him. So personally, I think that it's of course, if Vulcan gets the upset, that will be really good for him, and that will definitely turn some heads and make some people look. But I think it's a very unlikely outcome. I think the safer bet will be betting on Ankalaev, because once again, his cards are rookie cards, and I think he's going to be favored to win. And so I think that, he's going to be a great rookie to stack. I think that he's a future champion. And so, that's what I've been doing. I've already been stacking lots of Ankalaev cards. I think he's a fantastic rookie to collect. So I was even doing that before this match was ever announced. So if you want to join me, I think it's a pretty good bet. Now, the co-main event is for the Bantamweight Interim Championship. Aljamain Sterling has the belt. He won when Peter Yan was disqualified in their last match. So they were going to have the rematch because Peter Yan was absolutely destroying him and on his way to win when he was disqualified by, kicking Aljamain Sterling in the face. That rematch is going to have to be put on hold, and Corey Sandhagen is stepping in to face Peter Yan. The winner of this match will be crowned the interim championship, and then will fight Aljamain Sterling in the future for unification of the belts. Now, Peter Yan is definitely the favorite to win. Corey Sandhagen was dominated by Sterling, and Sterling was completely dominated by Peter Yan. So you got Peter Yan kind of up there as, you know, the top dog. And I'm pretty sure he's going to walk away with this victory. And so I don't necessarily think, I mean, Corey Sandhagen is a great fighter. His value is not super high in the marketplace, but he is a great fighter. And, you know, I do think there's a potential for him to turn things around. But right now it's Peter Yan's turn. I think there's the most upside with him. The fact is that he's one of the most dominant bantamweight fighters I think that there is right now. Like, I don't see anyone beating him right now. If Peter Yan had not been disqualified, if he hadn't kicked Sterling in the face, you know, things would be a lot different. He'd have the belt. There wouldn't be the negativity about being disqualified and doing that to Sterling. And so, but we are here, and the point is that this match, you know, can kind of, you know, we all have short memories, and, you know, that was the very last time we saw Peter Yan. And so this match can kind of just take that away, put that in the past, and this will be the last thing we remember him for. So a great performance here, getting the interim championship, I think can really help him as we kind of just put that Sterling match in the past. Of course, we're gonna have to revisit it again when they face off, assuming Yan wins the interim championship. But I think it'll be good to just kind of make that not his last match, and this one against Sandhagen, what we remember him for, if he has a good one. So I think Yan is likely going to win this one, and so if you want to bet, I think he is the safer bet. Once again, if Sandhagen wins though, man, like that would be a real big upset, and Sandhagen is already good. So if you want to play the sleeper pick, if he does upset Yan, that will be pretty significant, because, you know, that will turn a lot of heads beating Yan, and then he'll be going to fight for the belt. So if you want to play the long shot, you could go Sandhagen. If you want to go with the safer bet, it's going to be Yan. You know, I do think that his value is a little down right now, especially for how dominant of a fighter he is. And so I think that there's only upside for him. You know, if he gets through Sandhagen and then goes and beats Sterling, as, you know, it looks like he likely will, because I mean, Sterling had no chance. Like, he was very dominant when they fought last. And so, you know, I think that, you know, after these two matches are dealt with, I think we're going to be looking at Yan in a completely different way and kind of giving him that respect he deserves. And then I expect that, you know, to translate into his cards being more valuable as well. So, might want to pick up a couple Peter Yan cards. And then finally, the main event, a belt match for the light heavyweight title. We got Yamblahovic versus Glover Texera. Now, this one here, first off, both fighters have UFC cards that are not the most desirable, and so both of them have cards that are kind of a lower value, even though Yan has the belt. Yan is probably one of the least popular belt holders that there is, and Texera doesn't have the belt. And so Texera is coming off of, I think it's a 5-win streak. And Yamblahovic is also coming off of a 5-win streak. But Yan has the belt and Glover does not. And so both fighters are on, you know, winning streaks. Glover is ranked #1 and Yan is the champion. So this is a very equal matchup. For Yan, I mean, I guess probably has the least upside here, because he already is the champion and he has defended the belt against Israel Adesanya. Now, Israel Adesanya went up a weight class. You know, he doesn't fight light heavyweight, he's a middleweight fighter, but he did put the belt on the line against Israel Adesanya. And he did beat Israel, giving Israel his first UFC loss ever. Granted, it was at a different weight class, and Israel did not bulk up for the matchup. So kind of people, you know, don't necessarily look at it the exact same. But it's, man, like, I don't know what to say. I mean, when your last win is against Israel Adesanya and you're still not super popular, it's kind of hard. He has to put in some work. He has to put in a string of wins to kind of get some respect. I don't know if he's necessarily going to get it just after this match, but I guess it really just all comes up to the performance. Yan has to put in some work to kind of earn the fans. And, you know, if he continues to fight and to win and to put on great performances, we can see that increase in value, which he should have as the champion. But, you know, it's kind of a wait and see thing. So I guess you can pick up Jan cards in hopes that he has a great performance and kind of earns some of that respect as he gains new fans, because that's really what the match is for, to keep the belt and gain new fans through a great performance. For Glover, there's definitely more upside because, you know, whenever somebody goes from not having the belt to having the belt, you know, that is pretty significant. And so there is a lot more upside in that. Jan's and Glover's cards are probably fairly equal in the marketplace. And so personally, if I could only bet on one, I want to bet on Glover. And that's not me saying that I think Glover is going to win. It's just saying I think there's more upside to Glover when the cards are probably close to equal. Okay guys, well those are my thoughts on the 5 UFC events that we have in October, and hopefully we see some movement to the upside on some of them. Until next time, peace out.